Imagine this. Beautiful wife, great marriage. We've always had each other's backs, always felt like a team. Life was steady, easy, comfortable. So what could possibly go wrong? Then one regular evening, I'm helping Vanessa with the groceries. One of the bags slips off the seat in her Subaru, so I lean in to grab it, and my hand brushes against something odd. Something that definitely doesn't belong. I pull it out. I stare for a second, brain spinning for answers. And then I spot something else. Vanessa's never given me a reason to question her. Not once. But standing there in the garage, looking at these two things, my gut screaming what my heart refuses to believe. Now, I know what you're thinking. I should have called her out right there. But I didn't. Because something clicked. And right then, I knew exactly what I was going to do. One day, she'd come home and I'd be gone. No warning. No trace. Just silence. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it really started. I met Vanessa 6 years ago at a cookout in Charlotte hosted by a mutual friend. She had that effortless kind of beauty that turns heads without trying, hazel eyes, deep brown hair, and a laugh that made everyone around her smile. But it wasn't just that. She was sharp, confident, had that kind of drive people chase their whole lives. And somehow, she picked me. Name's Jake. I'm 33, work freelance in software development. Mostly remote gigs, but I'd fly out now and then for conferences, nothing wild, just places like Seattle or Chicago. Vanessa worked in corporate sales for a medical tech company based in downtown Charlotte. She used to say she loved the job. We hit it off fast. The kind of whirlwind that actually sticks. 5 months later, I proposed. Fast? Well, maybe. A year after that, we tied the knot. Those first couple years? Nearly perfect. We bought a townhome in Asheville, close enough for her commute, but far enough for some quiet. I coded, she climbed the ladder, and we always found our way back to each other at the end of the day. Sunday hikes in the Blue Ridge, movies in bed, road trips to Tennessee or down the coast. We were solid. Until we weren't. It didn't happen overnight. That's what makes it hard to nail down when things started to shift. Maybe it was about a year ago, when her work hours crept later and later. First, 1 late night a week. Then 2. Then she was rolling in at 9, sometimes 10, always with the same story, networking event, client dinner. She started traveling more to Phoenix, San Diego, Dallas. The destinations always matched what I knew of her schedule, so I didn't press. At least, not yet. Then came the fights. Not screaming matches, Vanessa wasn't the yelling type. It was more cold, snippy. Like everything I said was just noise. Once, I suggested a weekend away in Gatlinburg. Just the two of us. She looked at me like I was clueless. Jake, do you even pay attention? I've got a trip that week. I can't just drop everything. Another time I asked if she was all right. She barely glanced up from her phone. God, you're always overthinking. Not everything's about you. She started pulling away. Slowly at first. I told myself it was just stress. Maybe she was chasing a promotion. I figured things would settle eventually, and she'd come back to the woman I married. But weeks turned into months, and the gap between us only grew. I'm not the jealous type. Never have been. But sometimes, you just know. It's in the way someone avoids eye contact when they tell you where they've been. The way their body tenses when a text comes in. Vanessa used to be open with her phone. She'd sit next to me, scrolling Instagram, showing me videos or pictures from work. Then one day I noticed she always kept it face down. If it buzzed, she'd glance at it, smirk, and tilt the screen away from me. Small stuff. Stupid, even. But it stacks up. Like the lingerie she started buying, ones I never saw her wear. Or the new clothes that never showed up at home. Or when she suddenly swapped perfumes after 5 years without saying a word. And the way she'd sit there, zoned out on the couch, smiling at something on her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. Something wasn't right. I tried to tell myself I was overthinking it. But deep down, I knew. Right. I kept trying to convince myself I was just seeing shadows. That I was imagining things. I didn't have any proof. Just a stack of uneasy feelings and weird behavior that didn't add up. Until one Friday night, I found the first real sign. It was just past 7 when Vanessa pulled into the garage. I was finishing up some emails in the office when I heard the familiar hum of her Subaru Outback. I glanced at the clock and frowned. Late again. I shook it off and went to help with the groceries. That's what a good husband does, right? She was already halfway out of the car, purse on one arm, phone in the other. Calm expression, maybe a little worn down. Just your average end-of-week exhaustion. Hey, babe, she said, reaching into the back seat with a small smile. Can you grab the rest? Sure. The trunk was packed, paper bags full of the usual stuff. Veggies, a rotisserie chicken, bottle of wine. Nothing out of the ordinary. I was lifting a few bags out when one toppled over. Ah, come on. I reached down, hand sliding under the seat to grab a runaway apple, and that's when my fingers touched something thin and stiff. A card. I didn't even need to see it to know it didn't belong. That cold, sinking feeling hit me square in the chest. Keeping cool, I picked up the apple and the card. It was flat, matte black with a silver Tesla logo. One of those key cards they use instead of keys. No name. No ID. Just sleek and silent in my hand. We didn't own a Tesla. That alone made my stomach knot up. Then, I noticed something else shoved near the door pocket. Crumpled. Torn. Stepped on. I flattened it out. A parking stub. No hotel, no business name, just a timestamp and a half-missing address. I stood there, frozen, staring at the two items in my hands while I heard Vanessa inside, humming like nothing was wrong. The garage door rolled shut behind me, sealing me in. She wasn't supposed to be anywhere that night except home. I always knew her travel schedule. She even had me book half her flights. And I knew her boss didn't drive a Tesla. This didn't fit. At all. I shoved the stub and the key card back where I found them. Not to ignore it, but because I needed more. If I brought this to her now, she'd have some story lined up. Something casual. Laugh it off. Jake? Really? I was just moving my boss's car. And maybe, just maybe, she'd spin it well enough to make me doubt myself. So I played it cool. I carried in the last bags and dropped them on the counter. She was already pouring a glass of wine, phone in one hand, scrolling with the other. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, just thinking about dinner. She smiled, kissed my cheek. I was thinking we could do the chicken and some veggies. I'm wiped. I looked at her, studied her face. No sign of guilt. No nerves. Nothing. Just the same old Vanessa. I nodded again and started putting the groceries away, but inside, my mind was racing. That night, while she showered, I sat on the couch staring at the muted TV, not watching a second of it. All I could see was that Tesla card. That torn parking stub. I could still feel them, like they burned into my palms. I opened my phone. Searched how to track a Tesla key card. Nothing useful. Just more dead ends. I'd have to go to every valet stand or garage and start swiping it like a madman. That wasn't happening. I leaned forward, rubbing my hands together. The receipt had a timestamp. So she'd parked somewhere. Somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. But no address meant no answers. Just more smoke. I clenched my fists. This wasn't enough. Not yet. I needed more. I had to watch. So for the next 2 weeks, I paid attention. Not to what Vanessa said, but what she didn't. Her late nights became more frequent. First once a week. Then twice. Then 3 nights in a row of networking events. She stopped inviting me. She used to say, come meet my team sometime. Now, if I asked, I got a cold shake of the head. It's just work stuff, Jake. You'd be bored. Then there was the phone. She used to leave it around, unlocked. Open with it. Casual. No? She kept it close. If I so much as picked it up to check the time, she'd snatch it back. Work stuff, she'd say with that fake little smile. But I saw the way her thumb moved, fast and precise. Deleting something before I could even glance. By the time I was ready to do something, I already knew something was wrong. But knowing and proving? That's a different game. And I needed proof. The idea hit late one night while I sat alone in my office, thinking about that Tesla key card. The stub. The silence. I had nothing solid. Nothing that'd stick. I had to see it for myself. That's when I started thinking about tracking her. At first, I looked into phone apps. But Vanessa was way too careful with her phone these days. If she caught even a hint I was monitoring her, she'd shut it down and tighten up even more. So I went with something she wouldn't expect. I ordered a small GPS tracker online, the kind used for fleet vehicles or personal security. Discreet. Battery-powered. Small enough to tuck under a seat and forget it's there. When it showed up, I waited for my chance. One afternoon, while she was upstairs getting ready for work, I grabbed my keys, stepped into the garage, made like I was rummaging through my truck. But instead, I knelt beside her Outback, reached under the driver's seat, and slapped the tracker into place with heavy-duty adhesive. 20 seconds. In and out. She had no clue. A few days passed. I kept tabs on her routes, checking the GPS every time she said she was working late. And just like that, the cracks started to show. She wasn't anywhere near the office some of those nights. Then came Friday. I had something nice lined up, a home-cooked dinner, a chilled bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, just something simple to bring us back together. I wanted to believe it wasn't too late. At 6:30 p.m., the front door opened. Vanessa stepped in wearing a dark blue dress I'd never seen before. Hair curled. Makeup on point. I smiled and motioned to the dining table, grilled salmon, roasted veggies, wine in an ice bucket. She barely glanced at it. "Oh, babe. I forgot to tell you," she said. I still on her phone. "I've got a work dinner tonight. Last-minute thing. Some potential clients." My stomach clenched. "Really? You just got home?" She let out a sigh like I was being dramatic. "I know. I wasn't expecting it either. My boss asked me to go. It's important. I won't be late." I nodded, not because I believed her, but because I'd heard it before. She kissed my cheek, grabbed her coat, and walked out the door like none of it mattered. I didn't stop her. I just waited until I heard the Subaru leave the driveway. Then I opened the GPS app. The tracker blinked to life, a red dot moving through the streets of Asheville, then heading down Highway 74 toward Charlotte. She said it was a work dinner. I figured she'd be hitting one of those high-end restaurants downtown, Langston's, maybe Ember, places where execs actually hold meetings. But the dot stopped somewhere else. A place I knew by name. Not a restaurant. Not a conference center. Just a sleek cocktail lounge tucked off Willow Row, trendy, overpriced, and not remotely work-related. I stared at the screen for a second, then climbed into my truck and started the engine. I didn't know what I was expecting to find. I just knew I needed to see it for myself. By the time I rolled into the city, Charlotte was buzzing, cars everywhere, sidewalks packed with weekend crowds, neon signs dancing off wet pavement. I parked a block away and waited. The lounge had floor-to-ceiling windows. Warm lighting, low-hanging Edison bulbs, candles flickering on polished tables. The kind of place people go to be seen. And there she was, Vanessa, tucked in a corner booth, drink in hand, laughing at something the man next to her had just said. Never seen him before. Tall, dark hair, sharp suit, way too comfortable. She leaned in closer. He touched her hand, and she smiled at him like she used to smile at me. My hand gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. This wasn't just drinks with coworkers. I could see it in how she played with the rim of her glass. In the way she tilted her head when he spoke, completely locked in. I had seen enough. But I didn't drive off. Something told me this night wasn't finished. They stayed for nearly 2 hours. At 10:15 p.m., I watched her grab her coat and follow him out the door. I slid lower in my seat as they walked to the valet stand. Then it pulled up. A black Tesla Model S Plaid. I clenched my jaw. She said her boss drove a pickup. She smiled at the guy, said something I couldn't hear, and without missing a beat, slid into the passenger seat like she'd done it before. The Tesla turned onto the street. I started my truck and followed. Didn't take long. 10 minutes later, the Tesla pulled into the valet circle of a boutique hotel just outside Uptown. My stomach dropped. There it was. No more guessing. No more maybe. I parked across the street and killed the engine. I watched him hand the keys to the valet, then walk around and open her door. She stepped out, calm as ever. He placed his hand on her lower back. She didn't pull away. Together, they walked through the glass doors and disappeared into the golden glow of the lobby. I sat in my truck, frozen. It was real. All of it. Weeks of doubting myself, second-guessing, wondering if I was being paranoid, gone. Just like that. There was no more guessing. She'd lied to me. She'd betrayed me. And while I stared through the windshield at that hotel entrance, only one thought looped through my head. She has no idea what's coming. I stayed there, outside that hotel, for what felt like hours. In reality, it was maybe 15 minutes. Long enough to watch the valet park the black Tesla. Long enough to see the glow of the lobby swallow Vanessa and the man she'd clearly chosen over me. I should have been angry. Should have felt rage. But all I felt was cold. Like something inside me had quietly shut down. I didn't go inside. Didn't need to. I already had my answer. Instead of heading home, I just drove. No destination. Just weaving through Charlotte, past the glass towers downtown, past the lit-up bar strips, through neighborhoods that didn't feel like mine anymore. My thoughts circled the drain. What now? Before I realized it, I was sitting in the lot of some rundown gas station on the edge of town, headlights hitting the side of a weathered convenience store. I reached for my phone. Didn't think, just scrolled through contacts until I found the one I needed. Mike. My older brother. We hadn't talked much lately. Life just gets in the way, but we'd always had a bond. Built stuff together when we were younger. Did some projects here and there. He ran a solid contracting business now, mostly high-end renovations up in the foothills. I hit call. It rang 3 times. Jake, he answered, voice surprised. Man, long time. You all right? Are you free tonight? Brief pause. Yeah. You good? Not really. Another pause. Then, meet me at Miller's? Miller's was an old dive bar on the edge of Asheville. Low ceilings, worn-wood booths, jukebox in the corner playing classic rock. It was the kind of place where no one looked twice at you, and the bartender didn't ask questions. I got there first. Half-empty room. A couple guys nursing beers, an older couple slow-playing pool in the back. I slid into a booth near the window and ordered a whiskey. No ice. 5 minutes later, Mike walked in. Same as always. Tall, flannel shirt, worn jeans, that streak of gray creeping into his hair. He spotted me, gave a nod, and slid across from me. All right, he said, waving a hand for a beer. What's going on? I didn't dance around it. I laid it all out. The Tesla key card. The parking stub. The GPS tracker. Watching Vanessa walk into that hotel with another guy. Watching her smile at him like she used to smile at me. When I finished, Mike leaned back, arms crossed, beer untouched. Damn, Jake. I stared at my glass, slowly tracing the rim with my thumb. It was the first time I'd said it all out loud. I don't know what to do, I admitted. He let out a long breath, rubbed a hand over his jaw. You thinking about confronting her? I shrugged. What's the point? She'll twist it. Act like I'm being paranoid. Make it my fault somehow. Yeah, he said. She'd probably hit you with the classic, Jake, it's not what it looks like. I didn't say anything. You planning to sleep at the house tonight? Just the thought made my stomach turn. Coming home to her like nothing happened, like everything was still normal? I don't think I can. Mike studied me for a beat, then took a slow sip of his beer. Then he said something I didn't expect. You need space. I looked up. My place up in Cedar Ridge? The cabin? It's just sitting empty right now. I knew the one. A little 2-bedroom tucked into the woods, peaceful and quiet. Mike had built it as a weekend retreat a few years back, but barely used it. Why don't you stay there for a while, he said. Clear your head. No pressure. Just, don't go back there tonight if it doesn't feel right. I hesitated. Swirled the whiskey in my glass. I'd been so focused on her, what she was doing, where she was going, I hadn't stopped to think about me. What if I just left? Not forever. Just long enough to breathe. We sat in silence. Jukebox changed songs. The hum of low conversation floated through the bar. I finished the rest of my drink, feeling it settle warm in my chest. All right, I said finally. I'll take you up on that. Mike gave a small nod, like he already knew I would. Good, he said. Finish your drink. I'll grab you the keys. I let out a slow breath, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't in a while. Control. I wasn't going to argue with Vanessa. Wasn't going to beg her to come clean. I was just going to walk away. And she'd never see it coming. That night, I walked into the house like nothing was different. The kitchen was dark, lit only by the green glow of the microwave clock. Her perfume still hung in the air. But she wasn't home. I stood there a moment, listening to the silence. It hit me then. This wasn't home anymore. It was just a building. A place I once built a life with someone I clearly didn't know anymore. And soon, it wouldn't be mine at all. I took a deep breath, pushed everything else down, and started planning my exit. I knew I couldn't just vanish overnight. That would be too obvious. She'd notice. Ask questions. So I played it slow. The next morning, while she was getting ready for work, I sat at the kitchen table like always, sipping coffee. She moved around the kitchen, half-focused, scrolling her phone between bites of toast. Big day today? I asked casually. She nodded. Meetings. The usual. Busy week? Yeah, probably, she mumbled, barely looking up. That was all I needed. She wasn't paying attention. Perfect. That day, while she was gone, I started moving things out. Small stuff she wouldn't miss at first, a few shirts, my laptop, important documents. Each day, I took a little more. A couple of books from my office. My old leather jacket. Tools from the garage. I drove them all up to Mike's place in Cedar Ridge, quiet, tucked up in the hills, far enough from Asheville that Vanessa wouldn't just drop in, but close enough if I needed to handle anything. 3 days was all it took to move what mattered. By the 4th, everything personal was gone, except for the furniture and a few odds and ends I didn't care about leaving behind. Vanessa never noticed. Or maybe she just wasn't looking. That Thursday morning, she was up early, standing in front of the mirror in our bedroom, fixing her hair. "You're up early," I said from the doorway, keeping my tone flat. She glanced at me. "Yeah, I've got a flight to Dallas this afternoon." I leaned against the frame, already counting the hours. "Work trip?" "Yeah, just the weekend," she said, grabbing her suitcase. "Should be back Sunday night." I gave her a slow nod. "Safe travels," I said, turning away before she could catch anything in my face. As soon as she left for the airport, I got to work. No rush. No panic. I had it all laid out. I cleaned out the closet, packed the rest of my clothes, loaded everything into the truck. The only thing I left behind was my wedding ring. I set it on the kitchen table, right next to a folded slip of paper with 5 words. "Hope it was worth it." That was it. No long note. No begging. No explanations. Just truth. When I was done, I stood there for a second. The house was still. Familiar, but empty. I stepped outside, got in my truck, and drove away. Never looked back. I silenced my phone the second I hit the highway. I already knew what was coming. At first, nothing. She wouldn't even notice until she walked through the door Sunday night, probably expecting me to be on the couch or making dinner. Instead, she'd find the note. And that's when the messages would start. Monday morning, I checked my phone. 18 missed calls. 31 text messages. Didn't matter. I was gone. The first one hit Sunday night, 7:42 p.m. "Jake? Where are you?" I was sitting on the porch of Mike's cabin, sun setting over the pines, cold beer in my hand. I didn't respond. 5 minutes later. "Jake, seriously. Call me. Now." Then a missed call. Then another. I ignored them all. By 8:30, the floodgates opened. She sent a dozen more, each one more frantic than the last. "What is this? Where are your things? This isn't funny. Come home. Did something happen? Are you okay?" Then it flipped. "Did you seriously just leave? Without even talking to me? What the hell, Jake? I don't know what you think you know, but this is ridiculous." There it was. I took another sip of beer and let the silence stretch wide. She could deny it all she wanted. But I'd seen her. I saw her walk into that hotel. And there was nothing left to say. The messages didn't stop for days. Monday. "Jake, please. We need to talk. I swear nothing's going on. Just tell me where you are. I'm scared. I don't understand." Tuesday. "I miss you. I don't even know what you think happened, but I swear it's not what it looks like. Baby, come home. Please." Wednesday. I never spoke to her again. But a couple weeks later, I hit a snag. There was a folder I'd left behind, tucked in the back of the office cabinet. Tax records, contracts, licensing info. Stuff tied directly to my work. Without it, I was stuck. Couldn't move forward on a project, couldn't get paid. I didn't want to go back. That house? I had no interest in stepping foot in it again. I'd left it behind for a reason. Still, I blamed myself. I should have double-checked. Should have grabbed it when I had the chance. But I hadn't. And now, I had to fix it. Then I remembered something Vanessa had told me. She'd be flying to DC for a major corporate summit that weekend. Big deal for her department. The kind of thing she'd never skip. Ever. So I calculated my window. She'd be gone. I was sure of it. I drove over, parking a few houses down like a stranger in my own neighborhood. Same key still worked. The air inside was stale. Quiet. Nothing had changed. It was like the place had been frozen in time since the day I walked out. I went straight to the office. Found the folder exactly where I'd thought it would be. But as I passed through the kitchen on the way out, something caught my eye. Same table where I'd left my wedding ring and that folded note. Hope it was worth it. Only now, there was a manila envelope resting in its place. My name written across the front in her handwriting. I opened it. Divorce papers. No note. No return address. Just the documents, signed and ready. Maybe she left them there hoping I'd come back for something. Maybe she just didn't know where else to send them. No address, no clue where I'd landed. Either way, I had what I needed. I took them back up to Mike's place in Cedar Ridge, sat down at the counter, and read every line. Uncontested. No games. I signed them that night, sealed the envelope, and dropped it in the mail first thing the next morning. And that, I figured, was the end of it. But a few weeks later, out of nowhere, there she was. I wasn't out for anything special, just a quick stop at the local hardware store in Asheville. I needed some new bits for a shelving project I was helping Mike with. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon, nothing out of the ordinary. I was halfway down the fasteners aisle, scanning a shelf of screws and wall anchors, when I heard a voice behind me. Jake. I froze. It wasn't the kind of voice you mistake. Even after all that time, it hit me like a punch in the chest, not loud, not sharp. Just familiar in the worst kind of way. I turned around. Vanessa. She looked different. Not destroyed. Just real. Human. Hair shorter. Little to no makeup. And her eyes, they weren't sharp like they used to be. They were soft, hesitant, like she wasn't sure she had the right to speak to me at all. I wasn't sure if it was you, she said, shifting slightly like she was standing on uneven ground. I finally spoke. It's me. We stepped outside. Found a bench just off to the side of the entrance, near the garden section. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I needed to know how she found me, why she was here. You're probably wondering how I tracked you down, she said, staring down at her hands. It crossed my mind. She let out a humorless little laugh. I ran into Kara. Said she'd seen you around Asheville. Kara, one of our old mutual friends. Someone I hadn't talked to in years. She didn't give me much. I didn't ask for a lot. I just needed to find you. Why? I asked. That's when I saw it, the regret. Not just surface-level guilt. The kind that hangs on a person. She took a breath. Because I needed to tell you the truth. She didn't dress it up. After I left, things fell apart. She tried to pretend like she was okay, like she could move on without looking back. But it caught up fast. The guy she threw everything away for? He turned out exactly how I thought he would. A liar. A manipulator. Said she chased him. Told his fiancée that Vanessa was the one who started it all. I lost my job, Jake, she said, letting out a bitter laugh. The office found out. Everyone whispered. It got around fast. I had to resign. No one caught her when she fell. You were right, she said quietly. About all of it. I didn't respond. What was there to say? She made her choices. And she was living with the weight of them. I've thought about you every day, she added. I know I don't deserve your time. But I had to see you. I stayed quiet. Jake. I know I can undo what I did. I know I hurt you in ways I don't even fully understand. Her voice cracked slightly. But if there's even the smallest chance we could try again. I let out a slow breath. There it was. The thing I had expected from the second I turned around in that aisle and saw her standing there. She wanted a second chance. But some things? They can't be redone. They aren't supposed to be. And I wasn't about to go crawling back to someone who didn't choose me the first time. I sat forward on the bench and set my coffee down beside me. No. Her face shifted, that flicker of hope dying out. Jake, please, she said, inching closer. I know how this looks, but I swear, I'm not who I was. If I could go back, if I could change everything. But you can't, I cut in, my voice calm. And I don't want you to. She blinked. What? I don't want some perfect version of you that didn't screw up. Because that version never existed. I gestured between us, the old pain, the silence, the years. This? It's not happening. She sat there frozen, gripping the edge of the bench like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. But I still love you, she whispered. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No pity. Just peace. I don't, I said. She didn't take that well. And she didn't let go easily either. After that day, the emails started. At first, they were long, heavy. Apologies. Regrets. I just want to talk again. I miss you more than I can explain. Maybe we could figure it out. Then came the desperate hope. I found a job in Portland. We could leave all this behind. Start over somewhere new. Would you move with me? I stared at that one the longest. She really thought a change of scenery could fix the past. But running doesn't erase who you are. And Vanessa had already shown me who she was. I didn't reply. I blocked her email. And just like that, she faded again. Months passed. The seasons changed. She became part of the past, just like everything else that didn't belong in the life I'd built. I kept moving. I kept working. Kept hiking. Kept building the kind of life I should have had from the start. One night, I found myself standing outside, just behind my house in the hills. The air was cool. The sky was wide. Stars like dust scattered across the black. And for the first time in years, I felt something real. I felt free. No baggage. No ghosts. No regrets. Just me, living my own damn life. And that was more than enough.